First off, sorry about 906. I was trying to do a little email traffic that has to do with Ben Jacobs. Ben, for full disclosure, like I said, Ben was supposed to be with us at 10 o'clock this morning, and he is going to the next city I think he's heading to Philly. I think that's where he's going. And so Ben got a note. Now, first off, hi. John here, you there. It's Tuesday morning, Tuesday Thoughts here on SDH. We got Gold Cup. We got Club World Cup. We've got Craig Forrest joining us from Footy Prime at 10:30. And we've got posts and a lot of posts from yesterday. We'll go through all the matchups. We'll go through what's going on in Gold Cup and Major League Soccer. We forgot to discuss what happened this past weekend in MLS. We've got that to get into, which led into the international break. So it's recapping MLS, catching our breath there, what happened in the Gold Cup, catching our breath there, what happened in the Club World Cup, catching our breath there. We've got posts from yesterday from a couple of places, both head coaches that were here at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and Mark Delgado from LAFC. We're going to hear from them coming up here in hour number one. We might be joined by an individual who is in an airport but hasn't quite had to rearrange their flight yet. So that is kind of a tease as to possible guests, and it might be a possible perpetual guest from various and sundry locations of the same designation. And that's a tease. That's all I can say. But anyway, Ben Jacobs from Talksport was supposed to join us at 10 o'clock. Literally 10 minutes before we went on the air, he sends me a note. The airline that he is flying on is an adventure. And they are based in, I think they're based in Denver. And they have not been renowned for their, let's see, how do we phrase? That they have not been well recognized for being on time a lot, canceling things, that kind of stuff. Their reputation kind of precedes them, but not in the way that I'm guessing they would like. And so Ben is flying this particular airline from point A to point B and having to go from one place to another here during the Club World Cup. And he got a notice that the flight that he was supposed to be on originally has changed. And so initially he was going to be flying out tonight to his next location for the Club World Cup. But now he's got to fly out this morning to his next location for the Club World Cup. And if you follow Ben is very, very busy. Ben is already off and running with like stuff going on in the EFL Championship, coaching changes, and everything. So he's off and running this morning already. And so he's having to balance that with flight changes and airports and trying to get from point A to point B. So Ben sends his profound apologies and wants to reschedule. And so we will most certainly do that. So, we basically, what I basically told Ben was the link that I sent him is a perpetual link. So if you want to crash at any time, doesn't matter where, could be in an airport, could be waiting for a flight, could be in a hotel room, doesn't matter. That link is yours. Crash whenever. And so Ben Jacobs is touring the country through an airline that is an adventure. And the airline that he is attached to for the Club World Cup, if you remember your Star Trek and you remember the initial message from James T. Kirk about space, the final blank, that's the airline. Ben is in the final blank. No, Ben is just in the blank. He's not in the final blank, but Ben is in the blank as you fill in the blank in that speech from James T. Kirk. Or, sorry, no, it was, Spock. So Spock's speech, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was Spock's speech. Anyway, Spock's speech, the beginning of Star Trek, the TV series, space, the final blank. That's the airline. Fill in the blank. That's the airline that Ben Jacobs is flying, and that he is kind of at their mercy. And so when Ben can do it, yes, thank you. So, yes, Abby, it is the F airline, that one. So, yeah, so Ben Jacobs is on the F airline, and that's where he is this morning. Hang on just a second. So Ben has a perpetual invite to join us whenever during the Club World Cup. Nothing like multivitamins first thing in the morning that you have to take. Okay, so the rundown for today kind of opened up a little bit. So we'll go back and look at MLS over the weekend, get you squared away. Now that we're in a gap week, we'll go through what happened last weekend. We'll get you prepped for that and get you lined up for all the standings. There is a story out from Tom Bogert we will discuss today, and we will also find one of our guests on Thursday who can possibly elaborate on this particular individual. So it was something that broke before the show started this morning, and so we will discuss briefly this individual today. By the way, Jason will be subbing on Thursday morning because I will be at Auckland City practice before sprinting back down this way to be here for Messi and Friends and Porto for the Club World Cup. So Jason will be subbing on Thursday. Nina and Nico in the Power Hour in hour number 2. And our perpetual guest that might be in airports might be joining us in hour number 1 on Thursday, in addition to maybe joining us at hour number 1 today. So that's kind of where we are. All right. Opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Morning, Abby. Abby's on fire this morning. I think Abby's probably been up for a while. So Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. We'll get into, once again, your QR codes. That's your QR code for those of you who are watching, however you are watching us. And it can be on the SDH YouTube channel. It could be on the 280-character app. It could be on twitch.tv/soccer down here. Kick off your day with Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. You hit your QR code, you go in, you buy out the store. We would actually recommend that you buy out the store, because once you buy out the store, you hit that QR code, you use the code soccer down here 15, you get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, our friends at Kickoff Coffee, take 10% reinvested into the youth games, youth initiative stuff that they have earmarked as cool, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And Kickoff this morning has to do with a couple of different, well, it's like one topic, but we'll look at it from a couple of different angles. Yesterday here at Mercedes-Benz, here at the home of SDH, an announced crowd of just over 22,000 watched a 3 o'clock kick in a Monday afternoon in the late spring in a tournament that is trying to determine the best club champion amongst 32 participants. So just over 22,000, it was announced. It was Chelsea trying to get the early push, trying to, freak out LAFC. And, oh, my God, what are we doing here kind of a thing. LAFC weathered the early storm, and they were playing fairly even. It was pretty chippy at points, and it was an intriguing matchup. And that's what this tournament is all about. It's about the intriguing matchup and squaring off against teams that you might not ever get the chance to square off against in any other competition. So goal is scored late first half. Pedro Neto put Ryan Hollingshead on skates and got it past Hugo Lloris at the near post to make it 1-0. Second half, it was pretty even. We'll go through all the stats coming back on the other side of this discussion. But the second half was pretty even. It was still pretty chippy. Denny Bouanga was kind of handcuffed a little bit, and I think that was the number one priority for Chelsea defensively, was to make sure that Denny Bouanga would not beat you. LAFC had a couple of chances. Second half, did not convert. And so there was one exchange. Bouanga in the late 50s had an opportunity to get the ball past Sanchez. It was in the 57th where LAFC went over the top. Denny Bouanga ended up with a nice piece of control and forced Sanchez into a kick save in the 57th minute. Then Liam Delap comes in the 64th, all of the praise, all of the hype, all of the woo for Liam Delap. Then Ryan Hollingshead launched from probably about 28 or so with about 20 minutes to go, went high of the target. Then in the 78th minute, LAFC had multiple chances inside the 18, ball kind of pinballed around a little bit. I think they had 3 attempted shots inside the 18, goes off a couple of Chelsea defenders. Then it ends up with Denny Bouanga trying to pass it to the far post, just missed the target. And that was probably the best chance that LAFC had to try and chase after an equalizer. Enzo Fernandez would score with 10 to go off a great pass from Delap. 2-0 as Enzo Fernandez, as Delap had drawn the defense out wide. You had Fernandez coming right down the middle. Timothy Tillman was late, and Fernandez puts it in the back of the net. 2-0 your final. And there was a PK shot with about 10 to go for LAFC, but it was a 2-0 final. So after the match, we caught up with folks in the mix zone. And here is a quick soundbite from Mark Delgado from LAFC about the experience and what it was like going up against a team like Chelsea and what it was like at Mercedes-Benz Stadium for LAFC, an MLS side, champion plus supporter shield winner, to go up against one of the top teams in the Premier League.
It's great. I mean, all the lights are on you and the moment's on you. So yeah, it's your moment to show what the club is about, what you're about, what the coach is about, you know, what the philosophy and everything you train every day is about. So it's a moment for you to showcase and show out, honestly. So yeah, I thought the first 45 we were struggling to find our rhythm a bit, but the second 45 we definitely regrouped and stepped out there with a different attitude and almost kind of re-energized and created some chances, unfortunately not to get the result.
Mark Delgado, midfielder for LAFC, after the match. And so then one of the other talking points, as we're here in opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com, one of the other talking points was the fact that there was only just over 22,000 at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And what we'll do is we will play the Q&A that went to both coaches. And we'll let you hear what both coaches said with the question in full and the answer in full on both of these elements. So first and foremost, here is Steve Cherundolo. Since we're in an LAFC kind of frame of mind, here's Steve Cherundolo after the match when he was asked about a crowd of just over 22,000 at Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Hi, I'm Nizar Kinsella from BBC Sport. I wondered what you made of the small crowds. It was a little surprising to a lot of us, and would it have helped if you played in LA? Because obviously, like Seattle Sounders, who qualified for the tournament much earlier, get to play more locally as well.
You know, I don't know. PSG against Atletico, I think 2 days ago, or was it yesterday? Sorry if I get my days mixed up. In front of a big crowd at the Rose Bowl. So I don't know if there's just more fans in Los Angeles who are into this tournament than here, or if it's the pairing tonight. There's a lot of things I just can't answer for you. But and honestly, I didn't focus too much on that. I was pretty focused on my task tonight was to help our team in any way possible. So I didn't really notice the amount of fans. I was more concerned about what was going on in the field.
Understandably so from Steve Cherundolo. We'll go back and play the soundbite one more time after we hear from Enzo Maresca. Once again, same question was asked of Enzo Maresca, the head coach of Chelsea. Here's Maresca's response, and then Maresca goes and discusses the match in and of itself. But it's off the top where Enzo Maresca is asked about the crowd size, and here's his response in addition to his initial thoughts on the match and the 2-0 win over LAFC.
Can I ask you how you felt about the match? It felt like you maybe took a little bit of a while to get going, but you got the result, you showed the quality. How did you feel about the match?
It was a good match, a good performance. I think the environment was a bit strange. You know, the stadium was not almost empty, not full. But overall, I think after 3 weeks, almost 3 weeks off, we start quite well. We create chances. Again, we win a game, clean sheet. We use different players, so overall happy.
All right, so Enzo Maresca overall very happy. All right, so let's walk through it again with what Steve Cherundolo said, and I'm going to stop it, once we get past the meat of what we were trying to get into here with both Steve Cherundolo and Enzo Maresca. So, Steve Cherundolo one more time after the match yesterday.
Hi, I'm Nizar Kinsella from BBC Sport. I wondered what you made of the small crowds. It was a little surprising to a lot of us, and would it have helped if you played in LA? Because obviously, like Seattle Sounders, who qualified for the tournament much earlier, get to play more locally as well.
I don't know. PSG against Atletico, I think 2 days ago, or was it yesterday? Sorry if I get my days mixed up. In front of a big crowd at the Rose Bowl. So I don't know if there's just more fans in Los Angeles who are into this tournament than here, or if it's the pairing tonight. There's a lot of things I just can't answer for you. But
okay, so Steve Cherundolo wondered about if there are more fans of the sport in his town than there are here. We'll stop it right there. Once again, go back to Enzo Maresca. And here's what Enzo Maresca said. Once again, I'll play that first half before we get into the part where Maresca talks about the match. So here's Enzo Maresca once again after the match.
BBC Sport. Can I ask you how you felt about the match? It felt like you maybe took a little bit of a while to get going, but you've got the result. You showed the quality. How did you feel about the match?
It was a good match, a good performance. I think the environment was a bit strange. The stadium was not almost empty, not full. But overall, I think after 3 weeks, almost.
Okay, so there's Enzo Maresca. He says it was a strange environment. It was almost empty, not full. Well, first off, it was a full house open. So it was going to look with the upper tank open. Remember, lower bowl, as we all know, seats about 41. And for Chelsea and LAFC, you're wondering, okay, maybe we can tap into the lower bowl. Tap into the upper bowl, maybe, sure. 3/4 of the stadia that were available for the matchups here for the Club World Cup are of capacities, and I want to get the numbers right. So yeah, I'm about to go on a bit of a rant. So, you look at the Club World Cup stadia. And this is from our friends at FIFA. So you're looking at Mercedes-Benz, B of A, TQL. Where to go? It's like where the action happens. Okay, so Mercedes-Benz, B of A, TQL. There we go. There's the arrow that I'm looking for. Rose Bowl, Hard Rock, Geodis, MetLife, Camping World, Inter & Co., Lincoln Financial, Lumen. So when it comes to stadia that are not soccer specific, you're talking about 2 of the 3. You're talking about, let's see, not soccer specific. So 4 of the 6. You are looking at 6 of the 9. You are looking at 8 of the 12 stadia that are playing matchups in the Club World Cup. They're not soccer-specific stadia. The ones that are soccer-specific, TQL, Geodis, Audi, and Inter & Co. With the purple team's home in Central Florida. The rest of them were meant to be, the larger venues. So you're going to have 8 of the stadia with capacities north of, Geodis is 20. So Inter & Co. Audi. So let's say 25 to be accurate, at least a little bit here. So MLS stadium capacities. All right, because apparently I've searched this topic up before. So the stadia that are not soccer specific that are available in this tournament: Audi that seats 20. Charlotte B of A can go either way, but it's 38 or 74-8. You're looking at what? Other stadia that are attached to the Gold Cup that are having just as many issues when it comes to capacities. We had Snapdragon that had, I think, 7,000 plus for a doubleheader in Gold Cup. Geoda seats 30. Inter & Co seats 25.5. Audi seats 20. And then you end up with TQL, which seats 26. So Audi is the one that seats the least at 20,000. The four, once again, that are MLS Stadia specifically. Inter & Co at 25.5. I think it's full house B of A, so I put that one to the side. So legitimately, the smallest stadium that you have is Audi Field at 20,000. I know what FIFA was trying to do here. I get it. And there are some reports in some publications that the folks here on this side of the Atlantic were trying to tell FIFA, you might want to be in smaller joints. FIFA was like, no, we'll be fine. But 8 of the 12 are not soccer-specific stadia. 4 of them are. Audi's the smallest at 20. Then you get into 25.5 and 30 and things like that. So it would lend itself to the notion that, at a Monday at 3 o'clock in a venue that you have opened up all the way, where the lower bowl is 41 or 43, and we know that lower bowl being 41 to 43. You opened up the whole thing to 72,000 for a Monday afternoon game at 3 o'clock. Yeah, it's going to look a little weird. So, yeah, it's going to look empty. But if you look at it from the perspective of, first off, let's just take the top off and think of it in the lower bowl idea for Atlanta United. 43,000, so 22 for a 43 on a Monday at 3 o'clock. That's not bad. Obviously, it's not what tournament organizers are looking for. But when you schedule a match for Monday afternoon at 3 o'clock, you run the risk of having what you saw in that building. But where Steve Cherundolo says maybe there are more soccer fans in Los Angeles than there are in Atlanta, I think that was a dig. I would disagree with him. Some folks kind of work. I would disagree that there are more soccer fans in Los Angeles in pockets than there are in Atlanta. Maddie made the point yesterday when we were having this discussion. There's something called the She Believes Cup, where Atlanta housed records for the She Believes Cup. Largest crowd ever for a USMNT match. I would maybe sit there and venture to folks that maybe the fact that folks were working at Monday at 3 o'clock might have been an issue. There are other matchups today that we will keep an eye on. The matchup at the Link yesterday in Philadelphia, the nightcap, Esperance Tunis and Flamengo. The lower bowl was full at the Link. Night game, Philly, full. No surprise. Yeah, it might have been a weird vibe for folks, but a little context never hurts. But let's just go ahead and skip right to the end and sit there and create a dig on an issue that you need to kind of think through a little bit when it comes to capacities and tournaments and things like that when you schedule a 3 o'clock kick on a Monday. Folks are driving back to work. I know that it will be an interesting litmus test on Thursday when you have Messi and friends taking on Porto. How many people will be there? Obviously, when you have a draw like Lionel Messi and Jordi Alba and Sergio Busquets and Luis Suarez, things are going to be a little different. How much different, we'll see. When we get into the upper deck, then Manchester City comes in on a Sunday against Al Ain. How different is that going to look? How different are the 3 matchups in the knockouts going to look for the Club World Cup? And by the way, Stamford Bridge, Mr. Maresca, seats 41,631. BMO seats about 22. So, yes, it would have been a sellout. And I know that, and I'll go back and look at the Twitch pitch because, it was. I think it was Michael that made the point that, this would have been a sellout at BMO Stadium. But I, as someone who has covered the sport and covered events in that building separate, just give it a little context. Don't go straight for the dig. Give it a little context. Folks got to go to work at Monday afternoon at 3 o'clock. I'm interested in seeing what it looks like at Thursday at 3. I'm interested in what it's going to look like Sunday at 9. I'm interested in what it's going to look like for the knockouts. And separately, I will give, and I was in line getting gear. I know that shocked you all. But I was in line getting gear when I walked into the stadium yesterday. And it was a line of folks. And I give the 3252 a lot of credit. I really do. They had, in the line as I was waiting, there were 3252 members. That's the LAFC supporters group. I give them a lot of credit because they had said in our conversations that 300 of them had bought tickets to the matchup against Chelsea at Mercedes-Benz. But only 200 of them could make it because they were flying the same airline that Ben Jacobs was flying. Yes, they were flying the F word. And because of cancellations and postponements and pushing flights and things like that, 1/3 of the 3252 couldn't make it from Los Angeles. And these were folks that flew overnight from Los Angeles to Atlanta. Literally, they were hopping on flights at midnight local time. So it's like 3 a.m. our time. Landed at 7 o'clock in the morning, left the airport, went straight to Mercedes-Benz for the matchup for LAFC. So I give the 3252s that survived the F word, thank you, Abby, full credit for flying overnight, making it to Mercedes-Benz, watching their team, being the supporters that they were, and turning around and either flying home and heading back to work. Remember that work thing, Mr. Coach Maresca and Coach Cherundolo? Flying back to work for Tuesday, maybe only missing 2 days and getting back to work on Wednesday. So I have full respect for the 3252. Absolutely, I do. But when you have coaches who want to sit there and run smack on a Monday 3 o'clock kick and an attendance figure of 22 plus, that's where I got a bit of an issue. And Michael, I'm not slamming Stamford Bridge at all. I'm just saying that you had 22,000. So basically, think of the lower bowl at Mercedes-Benz equal to the attendance that you could get at a sellout for Chelsea. So you're looking at the same kind of a thing. So think of it, as if it was Stamford Bridge, where Enzo Maresca is not used to seeing anything more than 41,000 unless he goes to other places for home matches. Look, just give it a little context and a little understanding. That's all I want. That's all I want from my coaches when they're being asked about crowd size. Monday at 3 o'clock. It's a little different than a weekend. It's a little different as you go later in the week. Atlanta, as everyone well knows, is more than happy to step up when it comes to matches, attendance, weekends, big names, all that stuff. Just be careful. Just be careful. Give things a little context, folks. That's all. It's for any incoming head coach. That's what I'm hunting for. Just give it a little context and a little understanding. I will be intrigued later today to see what the attendance figures are for the matchups that are turn to fixtures. Okay. So you got a noon kick and you've got a 3 o'clock kick this afternoon. Today at noon, Fluminense and Borussia Dortmund at the Meadowlands. What's that going to look like? People going to run smack on the Meadowlands at noon for a noon kick? 3 o'clock, noon kick local, Lumen. River Plate and Urawa Red Diamonds. What's that going to look like? I will be intrigued. Inter and Co. for the purple team, 6 o'clock. Ulsan and Mamelodi Sundowns. For me, I would be intrigued by going. I would go see that one. Just because when's the next time you're going to see Ulsan HD and Mamelodi Sundowns, A, in this continent, and B, playing each other? I would be intrigued. I'm not going to run any kind of smack on those three because, once again, noon kick, noon local kick, dinner kick. And then the dinner kick is probably two of the least followed teams in the grid. And there's also talk, and it came from the four-letter paper, that they were sliding fans to be in front of the television cameras to make the place look more full. By the way, get-in price at the Purple Stadium, at the Purple Team Stadium for the matchup at 6 o'clock tonight. Get-in price, end zone seats. You can get into section 26, row K, for $22. Dynamic pricing, people, dynamic pricing. Section 129, you can get in for $23. Section 26, depending on the row, you can get in for $24.50. $30 for section 136. Section 2, which is smaller seats in one of the end zones. It's not the supporter section. It's opposite the supporter section. You can get in for $30. Section 137, which would be the 200s for us, but they went single digit and then hundreds. So upper deck, first row upper deck at the Purple Team Stadium, $30. So that's the dynamic pricing. Ulsan HD, Mamelodi Sundowns. If I didn't have anything else to do, if I was in Central Florida, didn't have anything else to do, I would go see that matchup just because. But I will be intrigued, as should we all, as to what the attendance figures are going to be. And at the end of it, you sit there and you go, well, maybe the U.S. organizers maybe had the right idea. Maybe you want to be in smaller stadia. Or maybe you want to go, you put up you don't want to necessarily put up tarps, but you want to be in those places that might be 30, might be 40 in the knockouts, in the group stage, and then open it up to the larger venues come the knockout stage. That's just me. But I will be intrigued. Noon Eastern, and once again, you can watch, and we'll get into what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, obviously, as we go. But get into the matchups today. You can sign up for a free subscription for DAZN, and I will tell you this, once again, caveat emptor, buyer beware. I am having issues watching DAZN on TV still. I was trying to watch last night. It kept buffering, and so I switched to my phone and to my laptop. Laptop was fine. Phone was fine. TV was not. Of course, Jason said that he was having no issues watching it on his TV. Actually, he was watching it through his Xbox. He was fine there. I, however, watching it off my cable, was having issues. Went to watching it, legit on the laptop, it was fine. Legit watched it on the phone, it was fine. So, like I said, that's just me. And that was a rather elongated opening kickoff because I'm looking for folks to just give a little context to what's going on in the group stage and maybe listen to the organizers. Might have been just a little, like I said, you want the big stadia. I get it. I get it. I do. I get it. I do. But some matchups in some time slots are not going to get you what you think. Maybe there are more soccer fans in Los Angeles than there are in Atlanta. Dig. I would disagree with that assessment. But once again, you're given a weekend to an iconic venue and a great matchup. Just be careful. That's all I'm saying. That's opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Here's your QR code for those of you who are hanging out with us this morning. Once again, start your day with Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Hit that QR code. Use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvest at youth games, youth initiatives, stuff that they have earmarked as cool at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Yes, Ricky has mentioned as being one of the intrepid folk that it appears that according to Tommy Scoops, Atlanta United might be chasing after someone, might be chasing after an individual. And in looking at his story from just before the show started this morning, sources closing in on a deal say that Atlanta United closing in on a deal allegedly to Albanian international center back Enea Mihai. 26 be available on a free as his contract with Famalicão expires this summer, eligible to debut after the summer window opens on July 24. So Thursday, when our buddy Nino Torres from Gold TV hops on the show, he perhaps can give a little bit more intel on Mihai and Famalicão. I reached out to him this morning just before we went on and gave him the link to the article, and he said it's not a bad deal. Mihai's a decent center back. So that's the initial early returns from Nino Torres about Enea Mihai, Albanian international, apparently being looked at under the magnifying glass by Atlanta United. So keep an eye out on that. Like I said, Jason will be hosting on Thursday, hour number 2, the Power Hour, and it will be an opportunity for Jason to ask about Mihai and ask about anything else going on with the style of play, Famalicão, what they did in Famalicão, if I remember correctly, they were at times fighting the relegation battle in the Portuguese Primera. But, right now, Tommy Scoops is saying, he is saying, Enea Mihai, a center back, Albanian international, Famalicão, is being looked at. Tires are being kicked by Atlanta United on bringing him in when the transfer window opens, and so we'll see what happens. So initial thoughts from our buddy Nino Torres and Gold TV was that he's decent dude, decent center back is what Nino Torres says about Enea Mihai, and so keep an eye on that. We'll talk to Nino about it more with Jason Thursday in the 10 o'clock half hour when he joins and comes in fully loaded. So that's your early return on the Tommy Scoops piece. Tom Bogert reporting Atlanta United kicking the tires on Famalicão center back Enea Mihai. So we'll keep an eye on that. All right. So let me say hi to everybody and lay it all out. says to how we are. Morning 4-card, morning Abby. Been a bit since 8, having been on from the beginning. Yes, folks are watching today, 4-card. Hello. Let's see. So Abby got the chance to see Maddie getting the credentials. Yes, excited to access all the stadias. Yes, and no, and this is what I try to convince folks since we were discussing Ben Jacobs and the F airline and F Airways. Never fly them. I never do. I'm a Delta guy. And maybe it's the fact that Delta's hubbed here or whatever. It is very rare that I fly another airline that is outbound other than Delta. Fly the Triangle, always have, and it's going to take something going to some other obscure locale where I wouldn't. But Ben Jacobs got stuck flying the F airline, and his flights got rejiggerfied, flipped, moved, canceled, and so he is on his way to his next venue. And so he has the invite. He's got the garage door opener, so he can come in and crash anytime. But we'll keep an eye on that. Michael actually met Sophia getting credentials yesterday. And yes, very nice, young, talented, absolutely talented. She's a stud when it comes to still photography and being able to help tell our stories. But glad that Michael got to see Sophia. Abby got to see me. I had apparently broken all the equipment when it came to the issuance of credentials in the first place. So I saw Abby. Abby saw Maddie. Michael saw Sophia. And morning Dawn Star, by the way. Morning Lokeville. No, and and that's and Lokeville is at the match pretty good. LAFC couldn't put one in. They couldn't. And I think that as you go deeper into group stage, you will see clubs that have those opportunities. They won't be squandered. And so you end up with those particular clubs. I think that once again, you get into group stage, you get into knockouts. I think that those opportunities that we saw with LAFC that they could not convert, they probably could be converted by other clubs. So let's see. Abby, Stamford Bridge is 41 and change, and BMO Stadium in Los Angeles is 22. So that's your number. Yeah. So stadium seats 40. And it does. I mean, Michael, I'm not wrong. 22,000 looks bad in a 70,000 seat stadium. It does. And, but like I said, organizers were like, well, you might want to, and this is probably at the beginning of when they were trying to figure out venues. You might want to do smaller venues, but FIFA was like, no, we're good. And so once again, just keep an eye out for the attendance figures and the time slots, because FIFA does not want matchups occurring at the same time in different locations. They wanted to have those they wanted to just have the one match and the one time slot all the way through. That's what they were hunting for. They wanted eyes on the product each and every time. They didn't want eyes being diverted from one place to the next. So that's that's what you're looking at. And not a great time for a game and during the week. And not yet. And Michael, 40,000 there is loud. When it's sold out, Stamford Bridge can be very, very loud. As someone who I have not been to Stamford Bridge, I know that Michael has. Michael knows what 40,000 can be in that building. And Michael also knows, and we all know what 40,000 can be like at Mercedes-Benz when it's full. It can be very, very loud. But once again, the choice was made, Chelsea and LAFC, to open up the full barn for Monday at 3 o'clock. And Abby's not wrong. It'll be full for the quarters. Absolutely. So, and absolutely true. And, it would have looked better at 42.5. And Dawn Star was there watching in person. And so, Abel, price people out. They had dynamic pricing. Dynamic pricing was something that they instituted late. And, if you, and there was a point that was asked to Mike Conti on social, if you had dived in and got the expensive, and then dynamic pricing had worked its way down, I don't know what would have happened there. I don't know if you would have gotten the balance refunded or if it was caveat emptor, buyer beware, or what. But that's another thing. Dynamic pricing the entire time. It's like, oh, people are interested, supply and demand. So then you're going to sit there and you're going to raise the prices. But it will be intriguing to see, like I said, and that's why I wanted to go and check the price at the Purple Team venue for the 6:00 match tonight, probably between Team 28 and 29 or Team 27 and 28 of the 32, just to see what it would be like. Would a novelty factor give you something akin to a dynamic pricing of, up and above? But no, get in price, between 23 and $30 to go see something at the Purple Team venue in Central Florida tonight at 6:00. Between, like I said, Team 27, Team 28, Team 28, Team 29, what have you. So we'll see what happens. And Dawn starts like, now I want Atlanta United to beat LAFC. No, I'm not going to deny the Rose Bowl crowd at all. I'm not going to deny the Rose Bowl crowd at all. Absolutely true. So 80,000 for that Rose Bowl crowd was absolutely amazing. It was a fantastic look at the Rose Bowl for PSG and Atletico Madrid. Yeah, 80,000. It was up in the end zones, up close to the scoreboards where you did not have your full capacity, or you didn't have your full fan component, just up in the end zones, up toward the scoreboards. But no, when you're on a Sunday afternoon in Los Angeles, I mean, think about it, Sunday afternoon in Los Angeles, and you got PSG and Atletico Madrid, you're going because it's a Sunday. And if you're a fan of either club, you're making a week of it. You're going out there, you're doing some sightseeing, you're going to Disney, you're going to, Knott's Berry Farm, you're going to Universal, you're going to the beach, you're going wherever. And Sunday, to wrap up your week, you're going to go see PSG and Atletico Madrid because it's a Sunday afternoon in a venue that lacks any real idea about letting fans in and out at any given moment. Literally, the way the Rose Bowl is structured, because it is such an old venue, everybody's got to come out before folks can come in. You can't just, like in venues where, I'm going to go to the concession stand. You literally walk out, you go down the ramp, you go to the concession stand, you walk back in, you go back to your seat. That doesn't work at the Rose Bowl, literally. The way it works is you are waiting with a group of folks because the tunnels are so small, they cannot handle two-way traffic. They can't handle folks going in and out at the Rose Bowl. So literally, you've got to get all your stuff, go to your seat, but you're not getting in until the steward sit there and says, okay, everybody who wants to go in can go in. And if you want to go in, or if you want to go out while folks are going in, you got to wait. You have to wait for everything to be done in one direction before the other direction can take hold of the same tunnel. That is how old and how small Rose Bowl venue is for getting in and getting out of the Rose Bowl proper, getting out of the seating locations. You want to get in, you got to wait until it's cleared and okay to get in. That's the Rose Bowl. So people are probably buying all their food, buying all their liquid, doing whatever, standing outside their tunnel of choice, waiting for the tunnel of choice to have folks who exit, then you can go in. It's not just free as you want, free as you leave. Not that way at the Rose Bowl, unless things have changed. But because the tunnels are so small, you got to wait when it comes to that venue and getting to your seat or leaving to your seat to go to the bathroom. You want to make a pit stop, you want to go to concessions, you got to plot it early. You got to wait. It is the Rose Bowl. It is Sunday afternoon. It's the end of a week. You've gone on vacation. Of course the crowd's going to be big. Abby, there are more matches in the middle of the workday. Like I said, the one with Messi and friends is another 3:00-er. So let's go through the rest of the week since we mentioned it today. Fluminense, Borussia Dortmund, noon in the Meadowlands. 3 o'clock, River Plate, Urawa Red Diamonds, Lumen Field, Seattle. So a noon kickoff West Coast time at Lumen. Purple Team Stadium, 6 o'clock dinner time, Ulsan HD, Mamelodi Sundowns. Tomorrow at the Link, at noon. Noon at the Link tomorrow. Manchester City, and Wydad. 3 o'clock at Hard Rock, Real Madrid, Al Hilal. This is tomorrow. Dinner time, TQL, Pachuca, NFC Salzburg. Nighttime at Audi Field, 9 o'clock, Al Ain and Juve. Thursday, noon, Meadowlands, Palmeiras and Al Ahly. You know the Palmeiras fans will be rocking. Will it be just the lower bowl? Will it be the full? Then you've got Messi and Friends in Porto, 3 o'clock Thursday afternoon here. Dinner time, East Coast time, Seattle and Atletico Madrid at Lumen, 3 o'clock local time. And then at the Rose Bowl, Thursday, 9 o'clock local, 6 o'clock their time, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock local time. PSG and Botafogo. Friday, noon, Purple Team Stadium, Benfica, Auckland City. 2 o'clock at the Link, Flamengo and Chelsea. 6 o'clock at Geodis, 5 o'clock local time, LAFC and Esperance de Tunis. And then Hard Rock, late night Friday, 9 o'clock, Bayern Munich and Boca Juniors. Saturday, once again, you're getting into Saturday kicks and things like that. TQL at noon, Lumen Field at 3 Eastern, Meadowlands at 6 Eastern, Rose Bowl at 9 Eastern. Sunday, same deal. Link at noon, B of A in Charlotte at 3, Audi Field at 6 for Salzburg and Al Hilal, and then at 9 o'clock, Manchester City, Al Ain at Mercedes-Benz on Sunday night. Monday, you end up with simultaneous start times because it's the last day of the group stage. So then you get simultaneous kicks. 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock for Group A for Group B and Group A. So, yeah, until you get to match day 3, match day last in the group stage, you're getting sequential start times all the way through. Then you get simultaneous start times, but then, once again, it's match day 3, and you don't want sandbagging or anything like that. You want everything all squared away. Yeah, I mean, people can take a long lunch. Hi, Jordan, welcome. Jordan Fernandez. First time that Jordan has been with us. No, Ricky, you did not miss the rumor talk when you were posting the rumor. Let's see. Did I find interesting gear? I mean, I did. I mean, I stood in line like everybody else. The t-shirt, the t-shirt that I wish they had for adults was the peach colored on the black. But that was only a youth t-shirt. The peach colors, the Atlanta specific t-shirt, I wish that was for an adult. They had that for the youths. I ended up getting the blood red t-shirt with the Atlanta venue that was named and attached. And then got the pins and the hats and things like that. Yeah, see, the hat, got the hat right here. I can't quite put the hat on the boss, but there we go. So, yeah, got the hat. I hope I'm not running afoul of our friends at FIFA by having the hat on the set. Okay. Let's see. Michael and Abby and Ricky. And Ricky obviously thinks the Man City match will be a better atmosphere. Also saw someone selling Delta Sky Terrace tickets for the Miami match on StubHub for $17,000. Wow. Okay, well, all right. Okay, so once again, dynamic pricing. So let's find out the get-in price for the matchup on Thursday. While we're talking about it, let's talk dynamic pricing. Messi and Friends in Porto. Yes, I agree. Now, get-in price, nothing going on right now in the upper tank. They said no seats available upper tank. So maybe it's just going to be $43,000 for Miami and Porto. Nothing going on in the upper tank right now, according to our friends at Ticketmaster. 200 level get-in price, $92. And then it goes up from there. So if you want to get in at the 50 on the lower level, get-in price at $245. $245.30 plus taxes and stuff to get in lower bowl in the 100s for Messi and friends on a Thursday afternoon. But there's nothing going on upper deck. My guess is they might have employed the curtain. Just kidding. So we'll see. So maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll see the curtain. But nothing going on currently upper deck in the 300s for Messi and friends in Porto. Maybe you get allowed 43,000, but 17,000, man, that's just 17,000 for Delta Sky Club. And Ricky, to your point, like I said, today's matchups from a neutral perspective, very, very interesting. I will be intrigued. The Palace intrigue is heavy for me. Very, very heavy for me today. Fluminense, Dortmund, River Plate, Urawa Red Diamonds. I'm interested. Yeah, and no complaints about the turf. Michael got to walk on it. But, yeah, no complaints about the grass surface. I think it was Mark Delgado who had mentioned that there were a couple of bubble-up points and things like that, and that when the grass itself was dry, it was fine. But after you applied water to it at points, it would be, the ball would check up a little weird, those kinds of things. Well, I mean, think about it. When you're on a grass surface and surface gets wet, ball's going to do weird things. But I think it was Mark Delgado who said the ball checked up a little funny when the surface was more wet than it was dry. But other than that, they were saying that the grass held up pretty well. Looking forward to seeing that. I did not see Pepe yesterday. I did not see Pepe. Michael, FIFA did the same thing at MBS, flipping fans around because, on the press box side, there wasn't anybody in the 100s, or there weren't a whole lot of folks in the 100s, and everything had been flipped to the other side. Let's see. Fluminense and Dortmund is on True. Let's see. Yes, and Ricky, I'm right there with you. It's not quite the summer of soccer yet. We still have 4 days. So right now we're still in the spring of soccer. And they didn't know. Lokeville, they did not draw the curtains because, for whatever reason, they were like, okay, full barn, open it up. And so Ricky says both of the games you've got tickets have been upgraded from the 3s down to the 2s. And so they shifted his seats. Okay, that's interesting. Let's see. Abby did the same in Cincy. Friend has tickets this week, said she got upgraded from the 2s to the 100s. That would make you unhappy if you specifically wanted a 200 level seat. Like first row, they move you down. It's like, can I go back up to the 200s? Can I sit in my front row 200 level seat? Lokeville says 300 almost ended up in the hundreds. Ricky's cool with that from a value perspective, but so we'll see. Abby was at MSG last year, shocked at how small the walkways were. Michael, you want small walkways? Go to Cameron Indoor. Absolutely true. And they still have the gondola. And for anybody that's doing a game at Cameron Indoor, literally it is a gondola up top. You got to go upstairs. You got to go up into the rafters. And I mean, it's like that skinny and that thick. It is not going to be. It is not going to be spacious in the older venues when it comes to trying to find your seats and get in and get out and get shifted and all those kinds of things. Abby says apparently one of the announcers picked Real Madrid. I'm with PSG until further notice. Luis Enrique is a very, very bad man. Rich says Chelsea's playing at the Link at 2:00 afternoon on Friday in 90 degrees. Yeah, and Rich does make a point. European prime time. Absolutely true. 2:00 or 2:00 in the Eastern time zone. That's prime time in England. That did not hit me until you mentioned it. That is absolutely true. Let's see. So Abby and Ricky loved what the Bernabeu did with their stadium field going under the field. Let's see. Abby says $245 tickets direct from Ticketmaster, not resale for 200s. Closed the 300s. Okay. Pepe took a pic with volunteers yesterday. Very, very cool there. Yeah, and it might be. And Michael and I will be interested to, do you drop the curtain or do they have a different curtain? Maybe it's just maybe it's just tight shots and everything is just shown from the 200s down, and then the 300 is just open, so you don't get the curtain. Empty 300 level showing up for Messi, so we'll see. But yesterday in the Club World Cup, you had the Chelsea win 2-0. Boca Juniors and Benfica was absolutely insane from all intents and purposes. Yeah, just empty and no curtain. So it looks like 2-2. You had a Nico Figal red card from Boca late. And so Otamendi scored in the 84th to draw it at 2. And then Boca ends up with a Figal red. And you end up with 2 red cards for Boca Juniors. You end up with an Ander Herrera red at 45, Figal a red at 88. So basically, Boca Juniors finishes with 9 and draws 2-2. Benfica had 54% possession compared to 34-12 in contest, so I would just say 2-1. Attempts at goal, 10 attempts at goal for Boca Juniors. 10 attempts at goal for Boca Juniors, and they finished with 9 players. 2 shots on target, 3 on target for Benfica, 4 off target for each. 6 inside the penalty area, 11 overall, 6 for Benfica. Final third entries, 22-13 in the left channel. So let's do the math. 26, 41, 72 final third entries for Benfica compared to 33. Oh, so Abel, thank you. So it was 11v10, but one of the players was on the bench. Okay, cool. Thank you. Offers to receive 291 to 172. I like how FIFA is offers to receive. It's like pass completion. They have offers to receive. So that's your stats. So Benfica and Boca 2-2 draw yesterday, and also on the board. That match was crazy. The Boca fans are probably right now that your league leaders in intrigue from other folks. Then late night, it was Flamengo beating Esperance de Tunis 2-0. Luis Araujo, remember him? Jessica Charman called that match for DAZN UK, and Araujo scored in the 70th minute to make it 2-0. Esperance acquitted themselves very, very well, and so it was intriguing to see how they would respond in a situation like that. So Flamengo 2 on the board. Araujo scores with 20 to go. 2-0 final. Flamengo over Esperance de Tunisie, and that was your final there. So 2-0 on the board. Flamengo gets the Duke, and Abel says Araujo looked really good last night. He did. Like I said, I was bouncing around from Gold Cup to Club World Cup, and I had him on both monitors, and so I was trying to figure out what was going on. Goal and assist for Luis last night. So very, very cool. So your standings up to date right now. You have everybody in Group A with a point. Al-Ahly, Porto, Palmeiras, and Messi and friends. They've all got a point. Group B, PSG and Botafogo right now. They've won their opening matchups. Seattle and Atletico Madrid did not. Group C, Bayern Munich, the only team with a win since Benfica and Boca Juniors drew yesterday. Group D, Flamengo and Chelsea with wins. LAFC and Esperance did not. So if LAFC is going to get out of group, then they've got to beat Esperance, and they've got to get a result on Flamengo. Group E, once again, that's today. River Plate, Urawa Red Diamonds, Monterrey, and Inter. And then Group F, Fluminense, Borussia Dortmund, Ulsan, and Mamelodi Sundowns. Group G, Manchester City, Wydad, Al Ain, and Juve. Group H, Real Madrid, Al Hilal, Pachuca, and Salzburg. So that's your rundown. Matchups today are plentiful. 12, 3, 6, and 9. Fluminense, Borussia Dortmund. Let's get into juice boxes. I haven't done the juice boxes yet today. So juice boxes for those matchups, and we'll get into juice boxes for them as well. Craig Forrest from Footy Prime joining us at bottom of the hour to break down everything Canadian men's national team because they play Honduras late night tonight. And so we'll get into Canada and Honduras. Curacao and El Salvador is the early match tonight. Our buddy Tyler Terrens is going to be calling the match with Mo Adu. They called Jamaica and Guatemala last night. Guatemala gets the big upset on Jamaica. And so Tyler and Mo are calling the early match, Curacao and El Salvador. John Strong, Stu Holden calling Canada and Honduras from BC Place. Matchups at BC Place. And that is late night tonight for your viewing pleasure in the Gold Cup. We'll go over Gold Cup in a sec. Today, Fluminense is a big underdog against Borussia Dortmund at noon. Dortmund's a minus 154. Fluminense a plus 433. Draw is a plus 287. River Plate at 3 o'clock, a minus 208, hosting Urawa Red Diamonds at a plus 575. Draws a plus 338. Ulsan HD is an underdog to Mamelodi Sundowns at a plus 301. Mamelodi Sundowns a minus 101. Draws a plus 231. Late night Monterrey and Inter a minus 179. Draws a plus 336. And Monterrey is a plus 445. That's your rundown of your juice boxes and everything that is going on from Club World Cup. We spent an hour and 7 minutes on the Club World Cup for various and sundry topics. Nathan McCreary's in this morning. Jamaica looked a mess. They did. They were not at the top of their game. And Guatemala made 8 changes from the lineup that lost to Jamaica recently. And so obviously they saw something. 31-year-old head coach, by the way. And they saw something and they turned it around and got the big win last night, 1-0 over Jamaica. Jamaica couldn't get anything going. Damari Gray did not look he was not at the top of his game last night, and it kind of showed. Andre Blake made a couple of saves, but it was a stumble for Jamaica last night in Club World Cup. And so now that we have gone through day 3 of the Club World Cup, heading into day number 4 once again, Curacao, El Salvador, Tyler and Mo are the early game. Canada and Honduras from BC Place. That's the late game tonight, 10:30. And then it will be Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, Suriname, and Mexico on the beginning of match day 2, which is Wednesday. So, like I said, we'll talk to Craig Forrest from Footy Prime about the Canadian men's national team, Gold Cup, Jesse Marsh, all those topics coming up at the bottom of the hour. Nate, don't be a stranger. Good to see you. All right, so I did want to get into, pressure from Guatemala, definitely fun to watch. Definitely agree with you there. Did want to get into Major League Soccer just to kind of get us up to date with where we are and what we missed while we were all focused on Club World Cup and Gold Cup and all the things. So just to burn through the schedule and recap everybody as to where things stand heading into the bye week. It was St. Louis and LAG, absolutely crazy back on Saturday. 3-3 draw. By the way, there is going to be a Forever City Red kit. It's available for pre-order. They're going to be celebrating the 50th anniversary of the historic win, the 75th anniversary of the greatest FIFA World Cup set in history, the 1950 U.S. win over England. 5 St. Louis players went from the Hill to Brazil. 4 of them from the Hill neighborhood, played for the U.S. team. According to U.S. Soccer, more than 800 players have played for the U.S. men's national team, 76 from St. Louis, nearly 10% of all the players. On the 25th, the club is going to celebrate the 75th anniversary of that win in 1950. And so 5 players from St. Louis are going to be honored. Pee Wee Wallace, Gino Pariani, Charles Colombo, Frank Borghi, and Harry Keogh. Appearances by their surviving family members during pre-match. You're going to get a commissioning of a local mural for Scott Pondram. They're going to pay tribute to the match on the side of Antonino's Taverna on the Hill. Soccer Bible's going to have tribute merchandise pre-ordered. It's expensive. If I had the money to buy it, I might buy it, but it's really cool, but it's really expensive. Hill to Brazil, they're going to have a block party, 75th anniversary themed on-field goal nets and corner flags. Performance by the national anthem of by the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra, and you're going to get a city pennant with a sash honoring the 5 St. Louis players match day giveaway. So very, very cool stuff from them. St. Louis put, it's like, okay, let's just go ahead and unleash the crazy with the matchup against LAG. Klaus, first Klaus, second Klaus, third Klaus. Back and forth with Gabriel Peck. Nascimento scored in the 51st, but Klaus scored at 90+5. Just when you thought when Gabriel Peck gave LAG a 3-2 lead in the 87th, you're like, yeah, LAG is going to win. Not so fast. Where's my pencil? Do I have a pencil? I need a pencil. Not so fast, my friend. Klaus scores in the 35th, the 47th, and at 90+5, and you get the win for St. Louis City, or you get the draw from nothing. Draw from nothing. And then you end up with a shared result 3-3 with St. Louis and LAG. Columbus beat Vancouver 2-1. Cincinnati 1-0 over New England. Philadelphia beat Charlotte 2-1. Dean Smith complained again. You ended up with Austin beating Red Bulls 2-1. Nashville shut out Chicago 2-0. Montreal over Houston 3-1. Dallas doubled Kansas City 4-2. Same score. San Diego over Minnesota. But once again, Minnesota had a lot of folks out. Dane St. Clair was out, representing national team. Michael Boxall, a couple of others. They had, I think, half a dozen players who were out representing their international squad. So San Diego got the Duke at Allianz. Purple team won in Orlando and 1-0 over Colorado. RSL 2-0 over DC United. And then you had, once again, the beginning of the Gold Cup with Mexico over the Dominican Republic 3-2. So far in Gold Cup, we talked with Bart about USA shutting out Trinidad and Tobago by the score of 5-0. Saudi Arabia has beaten Haiti so far. Welcome to the Gold Cup, Saudi Arabia. Apparently, this one was a very, very chippy match. 1-0 Saudi Arabia with the win there. Costa Rica and Suriname on a 103rd minute PK. Foul called in the 103-minute review, 103rd minute score. Costa Rica beat Suriname 4-3. They've had, I think, 26 goals so far in the tournament. Panama, no problem with Guadeloupe. In another bit of a surprise, Panama 5-2 winners over Guadeloupe. They were up early and did not let up in Group C. You end up with a goal in the 6th, a brace in the 13th and the 17th. Guerrero scores in the 22nd. It's 4-0 before Guadeloupe can blink. They scored in the 29th to make it 4-1. Then they scored to make it 4-2 in the 71st. Then Rodriguez scores at 90+2. Panama scores to make it 5-2, and that was your final. For the record, I did not have 6.5 as a total for me when it came to all the activity. Let's check 6.5 on the totals. Let's check 6.5 just so we got it. Panama, by the way, -159 in your numbers. No real surprise, but the over-under at 6.5, for those of you that went that far, was a +2,200. It's the last number that you could get. +2,200 on the over-under at 6.5 in that matchup that went 5-2, Panama beating Guadeloupe. So very, very cool stuff. If you're that brave and you want to go down that road, more power to you. I am not that brave. But, yeah, Panama won yesterday. Guatemala beat Jamaica at a +530, by the way. Did not have that pegged. And then once again, we got the matchups today and the standings, just so you know them, from everybody who has participated so far. Group A, Costa Rica, Mexico, both won their first matchups. Suriname and the DR, once again, they're having to fight back from an early loss. Group B, underway today. Canada, Honduras, El Salvador, Curacao. Group C, Panama and Guatemala, they each have 3 points. Jamaica, Guadeloupe do not. USA and Saudi Arabia each with 3 points. Haiti and Trinidad and Tobago do not. Like I said, Craig Forrest coming up from Footy Prime in about 10 minutes. We'll break everything down with him, and then we'll wrap up with what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, all your gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Like I said, Ben Jacobs has been a very, very busy man. He's already been typing and tweeting and doing all the things, laying all of that up and figuring it all out. So let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I might have missed. And just so you know, over at gpb.org in the sports section, I have been starting our Club World Cup content, and it is just a quick 300 words on what happened. And so you'll get another one Friday morning. You'll get another one Monday morning. As there are matches at Mercedes-Benz, GPB has said, hey, Nelson, can you write us 300 words? And I'll go, sure, I'll write you 300 words. So gpb.org. And we are also including a photo from Sophia as a part of it. So really cool stuff there as you lay it all out. And we mentioned schedules. So right now in MLS, so the standings as we're now in this bye week, once again, Philadelphia 37 points, 4 points clear of Cincinnati. Nashville's at 32. Columbus is at 31. Orlando is at 30. Messi and friends, 2 matches in hand at 29 points. They would be second if they won out. But this tournament was a reinforcement that their defense has some serious issues. Now you're seeing it on a world stage. Defense has problems for Messi and friends. You ask our buddy Nino Torres, he thinks that Porto will handle Messi and friends on Thursday. That was his early thought. NYC at 18 matches, 28 points. Red Bulls at 27. Charlotte's at 25. That's your playoff bar. Chicago, 1 less win, 8 wins to 7, match in hand. They're in 10th. New England's at 23 points. DC United 18, Atlanta 17, Toronto 13, and Montreal is at 14 at 2, 11, and 5. 18 matches, they've scored 15 goals. They've given up 33. At least they are now under 2 goals per match average. They're 0-4 and 3 at home. Out west, Vancouver is still with a match in hand, 2 points clear of San Diego, 35 points to 33. Minnesota and Portland, identical records. 8-4 and 6, both at 30 points, but Minnesota's got a better goal difference. They are 4 better than Portland in goal difference. LAFC, Seattle, and Austin. LAFC has the least number of matches played, same number of wins, better goal difference than Seattle and Austin. 7 better than Seattle, 13 better than Austin. That's why they're in 5th. Each team 26 points and 7 wins. That gets you to 8th. San Jose is in 8th. Scored 35, given up 29. They're at 23 points. Colorado's at 22. FC Dallas at 21. Houston is at 20. Once again, Dallas starts below the playoff bar. 21, 20. RSL's at 18. There's a thought that Diego Luna might be moved in the summer window, and if they do, then RSL might be in real trouble. Sporting Kansas City's at 16 points. All Caps at 15. And LAG at 112 and 5, 18 matches. They've scored 18 goals. They've given up 39. So that is 1 per in offense and 2.17 on defense, 8 points so far to this particular point of the season. And just as a point of parliamentary procedure, just so folks know. And I saw this and back to Club World Cup for a second. I saw this with our friends that are trying to, and I guess I should probably turn this into something of a question for the Twitch pitch, because it has turned into an issue that for me is a non-issue. And I want to know what you think about it. And it might end up being part of the discussion tomorrow. Tomorrow, by the way, Tyler and Dylan set to join us 9:15 and 10 o'clock. 10:30 will be wide open, and we'll break down everything that happened today. Auckland City Football Club is an amateur side that won the Oceania tournament and has for a dozen times. They're in the tournament. They are amateurs. They are Team 32. I think there's like 4,000 spots in the level of professional in the power rankings. I think Opta has Bayern Munich at like 6. Auckland City Football Club is in the 4,900s. So you've got that gap. And yes, Bayern Munich did win 10-0. So my question to the floor is this. And it is, to me, I will let you know my opinion. Should Auckland City be in this tournament? that is apparently raising some kind of ungodly almighty firestorm in Europe. Bayern Munich beat them 10-0. Oh my God, do they deserve to be here? That seems to be a running topic overseas. The current format of the Club World Cup is if you win the Oceania tournament, you get in. I mean, yes, it's like we mentioned, you get a team that's, low in the power rankings for the tournament that happens in March and April when it comes to college basketball. So should they be allowed in the tournament? And this may end up being the last time that they will because the rules may change. But there is no professional league in New Zealand, but Auckland City goes and wins the tournament. So they go in. Wellington and another club, since there are no professional leagues in New Zealand, play in the Australian League. Talk to BAM. So the two clubs in New Zealand that are professionals play in the Australian League because there is no New Zealand professional league. Auckland City Football Club won the tournament to get them into the Club World Cup. Yes, they got thumped. They are amateurs. Like I said, I'm going to go to practice on Thursday, and we're going to have a story published on the weekend. So it's a fantastic story on a bunch of different fronts. You get these guys that, work for Coca-Cola, they're sonogram, they work in medical offices. If you don't want it, then change the rules. That's what if you don't like it, change the rules. I mean, yeah, they got thumped. Yeah, they're probably going to get thumped again. Nate dropping the salary cap in here. Auckland City's amateur players have a salary cap $70 a week. Harry Kane reportedly earning $541,000 a week at Bayern. The payday that Auckland City is getting is going to help build youth football pitches in New Zealand. This is like legacy stuff that Auckland City is building here. But folks are apparently not paying all that much attention to the club that is in the Club World Cup because they are sending smack to Auckland FC. If you're going to send smack on a team that loses 10-0 to Bayern Munich, at least send it to the right social media account. Folks are sending smack to Auckland FC, not Auckland City Football Club. So my second caveat of the show this morning is this. If you're going to run smack on somebody, at least send it to the right place. Yeah, Auckland FC apparently has been catching strays for fans that are trying to sit there and run smack on Auckland City Football Club. And I have heard multiple announcers refer to them as Auckland FC. They are Auckland City FC. So if you're going to run smack on them, at least run smack to the right social media accounts. Yeah, Auckland City apparently is just watching as everything's going past them to Auckland FC. Yeah, Auckland FC is just like, yeah. It's like, what did we do? We're not in this tournament. They're catching strays. Time to talk Gold Cup. And we welcome in full disclosure. James Sharman and I go back about 2 decades. And James and I worked together at the Old Score television network in Toronto. And James was one of the soccer guys, and they brought me in to do American sports and things like that. And so James, through multiple iterations of being a cook and a restaurateur and diving back into media, is now at Footy Prime north of the border. And so with the Canadian men's national team getting ready to do their thing in the Gold Cup, I reached out to James. And I'm like, James, we need to talk. And so James has volunteered Craig Forrest to talk about the Canadian men's national team. Craig Forrest, the Footy Prime, hanging out with us here at 10:30. Welcome, my friend. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I didn't realize you went back so far with Charms.
Yeah, Sharms and I go back to the days at the Score, so absolutely. And so I've kind of followed what he's been doing, and I've got to figure out how to get his food imported to this particular part of the planet so I can have it, in the fridge and the cupboards and such. But
Right.
but yeah, so I was like, dude, we need to talk about the Canadian men's national team, and he volunteered you.
Happy to be here.
So I want to turn this into something akin to both an education and a bit of a Gold Cup preview and all that kind of stuff, because folks here south of the Peace Bridge may not necessarily quite get the full thought pattern of everything going on up there ever since Jesse Marsh was hired. There are times, Craig, where it comes across that Jesse sounds more and more like a wrestling bad guy. He could work on Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown, the way that he's talking in press conferences and sending out quotes and tweets and things like that. What has it been like north of the border up there to have Jesse Marsh as basically a paid tenured professorship sponsored gig to be the new head coach over there for the Canadian men's national team?
Well, quite honestly, Jesse Marsh has hit the ground running. He's done an absolutely fantastic job with this group of players. He obviously knows he's got a lot of talent to work with. They got some depth in just about every position, which is really something that's new for us. It is a golden generation, and we can't get away from that. They're absolutely brilliant. He knows what he's got, like I said. So he's managed them very well, managed the media very well, and all the public, and everything that he's done has been spot on. And even having digs at the American program from time to time has brought some attention down the States, I understand. But we're happy to have him. And initially, I was actually hoping that they would sign a Canadian as a national head coach. And I wasn't a big fan of going with Jesse initially, but I will say that I was completely wrong about that, and he's done an incredible job. Smart man.
So what are the expectations under Jesse coming into the Gold Cup? I mean, we'll talk about the first match in and of itself here in a second, but what are the expectations in this tournament now that you have Jesse in charge and he's circling the wagons and bringing in the talent that everyone's anticipating for a first choice roster?
Yeah, there's lots of competition. The expectations are incredibly high with this squad. They need and will never get a better chance to win the Gold Cup. Yeah, we won it back in 2000, but we were ranked 12th of the 12 teams that qualified, and we had to go through qualifying to get to that Gold Cup. That was a different animal altogether. Now we have that expectations where this squad is going into it to win this tournament, and that's what their goal is. And I don't think if they fall short of that, they'll be disappointed.
And what's it like having that as part of the mindset now, where everybody was like, okay, we know the big bad teams that are there. We know that, Mexico, the United States, but what is it like to have that now as like, okay, no, our expectation is to win this tournament. We're not just here to be, to have our arm put around us and sit there and go, nice job, and get a pat on the back kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm. No, that's exactly right. That's not going to hold water. So you look at the squad that they have and who's decided to come in, which is just about everybody. I mean, nobody's talked to Jesse and said, I don't want to play. That's a little bit different than we're seeing south of the border. They want to be part of it. And I mean, obviously being a strong squad and with the chance of playing at home in the 2026 World Cup, everybody's playing for positions in these games. And, there's a few games before the World Cup, but not that many when you're thinking about it. So every minute counts for every player that's trying to get the nod for the starting lineup in 26.
So in a perfect world, as you get ready for this matchup against Honduras at BC Place, where I imagine probably for those of us here on the East Coast, there might be some naps involved to get ready for a 10:30, Eastern kick tonight. All things being equal, starting 11, how would you run it out there if you were on the touchline with Jesse Marsh time?
How would I? Well, I would be looking to the high press, which they love to do. We didn't see it so much in the Canadian Shield friendly matches. They changed the lineup considerably, certainly from the game against Ukraine to the to Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire. So a bunch of players changed there. Honduras has always been a difficult task for Canada in the past, but they're not obviously as strong as they have been in the past either. So they'll be looking to put them under all sorts of pressure. Who they play up front, Jonathan David, who they play with them. I think they'll start with Kyle Larin, and we might see Promise David at some point. I hope we do in the match. And in the middle of the park, be interesting without Estacio there playing in the Club World Cup with Porto. Kone perhaps would get the nod in the middle there, and in the defense strong again with Cornelius and probably Waterman. So left back situation with Alphonso Davies being injured and Sam Adekugbe being injured, rupturing his Achilles against Cote d'Ivoire was a tragic injury for him. Feel really bad. He's just an absolutely terrific guy, and he's just struggled with injuries. So he's out for 8 to 12 months. So you go third string, which I wouldn't even call necessarily third string, with Richie Larea at left back. Just shows the depth we have in that position, and we're not really talking an awful lot about Alphonso Davies, who's, well, the quickest player on the planet.
What's it like to kind of bury the lead when it comes to talking about Alphonso Davies? We haven't really talked about him a lot. You've mentioned a lot of other folks. What's it like to almost bury the lead when it comes to Alphonso Davies?
Yeah, I will say about Alphonso. I mean, he's a world class player. There's no doubt about it. One of the best left backs in the world. But when Canada plays without him, you could argue they played better. Certainly in World Cup qualifying for Qatar, he missed half of the World Cup qualifying matches, and they played really well without him. So it's not one of those types of situations where you're just desperate to get him back, because they seem to handle the situation very well without him. But when he's back, obviously, he's got to be.
Greg Forrest, Footy Prime, dropping by and giving us everything we need to know about the Canadian men's national team as they get ready for Gold Cup. And I have my Gold Cup schedule right here. Gold Cup schedule right here, because it's printed and it's on card stock, so I know it's officially official. You're getting ready for Honduras at BC Place late night tonight to start things off at the end of match day 1. You mentioned a couple of names, and it's the dichotomy and the extremes that we get to see sometimes with the Canadian men's national team. Kyle Larin, who I would swear to God, we've been covering Kyle Larin ever since like 1872. And to have him continue to produce the way that he is on the national team level, obviously, is it as unexpected as it seems to still have him up front and still being as a treasured part of the attack as it seems he is?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, he looks after himself really well. He's a competitive player. He hasn't slowed down one bit. Jonathan Osorio, I could argue that that's happening a little bit now. He's getting a little bit older and slowing down. But Richie Larea at the moment, hungry to play, hungry to succeed. I feel bad that it didn't work out for him at Nottingham Forest, or at least that he didn't get a chance there, because I honestly think he would have fit in and would have performed well. I'm not sure what the reasons why that didn't happen. Maybe profile, maybe, physically, he's not the biggest player in the world. And you look at some of the Premier League players can play that position a little bit more physically strong. Maybe that's the reason. But it just shows you that even in football, you need the manager, manager number one, to like you and give you that opportunity. And that just never happened. But he's rolled with it and come back, and he's performed very well in Major League Soccer.
Yeah, and when you have the prospect of Evangelinas Marinakis storming out on the pitch and sitting there and wanting to get a piece of you if you don't do what he asks. I mean, there's that too. Steve Cooper, to me, it seemed like Steve at times, he had like a roster of 75 different guys that he had to try and juggle, and it just seemed like at points it was a numbers game. And if you're not liked, then if you're not going to be instant results, you're going to sit, and then you have to prove yourself in a bunch of different ways. You mentioned Kone. And he's another guy that I wanted to focus on a little bit. We mentioned the age of Kyle Larin, but someone who has been a part of things for the Canadian men's national team from a very, very young age and continue to grow his game is Ismail Kone.
Hmm.
What has it been like to see his game grow and evolve to where it is right now, where he's not just penciled in, he is pinned into the lineup now?
Yeah, no, his rise has been quite quick. Moved around. Certainly, the national team has helped him with exposure. Certainly, when he was at Watford and he gets the move, he's had some difficulty at club level. I think he's maturing, not only as a person but as a player as well. And I think he's got a bit of a ways to go before he's the finished product. I think he's that type of player that is just going to get better and better. And I think the Gold Cup's a good tournament, great tournament for him to be consistently a good performer.
What about Dane St. Clair and net? I mean, obviously you sit there and you stare at him. I know that Eric Ramsey at Minnesota United was like, man, I could have used him against San Diego to keep my goals against down. But to have a stabilizing force back there like Dane, obviously that helps things out, especially in a tournament setting against teams that can be pains in the you-know-what like Honduras.
Yeah, I mean, Dane's got a really good profile, and he's got some confidence and a little bit of a likable arrogance about him. But the goalkeeper position really is strong for Canada. Max Crepeau, Pantemis in Portland, who they're competing for at club level for that spot, is done very well for Portland. I'm sure a lot of Portland fans think that he's actually better than Max. He hasn't had a look in. So there's lots of options. Tom McGill as well is another player that's on the books at Brighton and Hove, been out to loan some lower divisions. So that position is very competitive. And I don't think Dane has tied it down just yet as the number one. But I think that Jesse Marsch likes him, likes his size and his profile slightly more than Max Crepeau, who never lets Canada down when he plays either. So good position, always been strong in that position. I'm a little bit biased.
Oh, hey, nothing wrong with that. Did you have likable arrogance when you were a performer on the pitch?
No, not really. I wouldn't say I wasn't. At times, I guess I was a little bit arrogant, or I would like to say confident, but not so much. Not so much on the field. Not like we see with Dane St. Clair. I think he uses it almost to keep him in focus of what he's doing in the game in the moment as well. So he's not fazed by any of it. And by the way, we went to the game when he played against Cote d'Ivoire in Toronto, and I was sitting behind his family. He must have had 50 family members there.
What's that like? It's like, okay, yeah, dude, I need your tickets. How many do you need? How many do you have? I mean, literally, the block of St. Clair. I mean, he probably had to go to everybody and go, I need tickets. Got tickets. Are you using yours? No. Using yours? No. I need your tickets. The block of St. Clair, was that big?
It was basically a whole block. Yeah. And every time he touched the ball, they all cheering and everything else. I was watching to see if he would look over, but he was really focused on the match and did not look over. But man, oh man, it was great to see, all these St. Clair jerseys and his whole family there. It was magnificent.
When it comes to, let me ask this way. I've got like a two-part question here. When it comes to Jesse now being in charge and the buzz, what is from what you guys have been able to disseminate over at Footy Prime, how much of a buzz is there now involving the Canadian men's national team with everything that's been going on, with Jesse being out in front and distracting everybody else from what he's trying to do with the club and having them focus on game state and all that kind of stuff? And Jesse will be the one to win the press conference, win the soundbite. What's the buzz been like with the fan base now?
Well, I mean, it's a small fan base, and let's be truthful about it. I wish it was bigger. We get outnumbered by away supporters, whoever we're playing against. That's been generational. We saw it. I mean, you would expect it so much against Ukraine because of what's going on, of course, but Cote d'Ivoire brought a lot of fans as well. Historically, I mean, I remember playing against teams like Holland and Germany and Spain and Morocco and Scotland and Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, and being outnumbered by the supporters all the time. So there is a buzz. And World Cup qualifying, I think we were mostly pro-Canadian fans at the games. But I think there's an element of not knowing still. They know certain individuals. They know of Alphonso Davies. He's in Edmonton. He's on the broadcast for the Edmonton Oilers Florida game, and everybody knows about him. But how many people have actually seen him play? Not many. We just don't have access, unfortunately, at the same level as other sports. But it will grow. And now we're into the final steps and sort of leading inside a year to the World Cup. It's going to grow. But the expectations for me are very, very high. And like the United States and Mexico, if they win their groups, they stay in those countries. So they potentially would play in Toronto, 2 games in Vancouver. If they could win the group, which is not going to be easy, but they should have a decent draw, they would stay in Vancouver. They win that, they would stay in Vancouver again. So this would be the same with the U.S. Finish second, all bets are off. I think they end up in Kansas City. So, but the opportunity's there, and I expect that they're going to do well. And anything short of the round of 16, I'd be very disappointed.
Okay, so then you're the grand exalted poobah of everything Canada soccer. How would you grow the game and grow its exposure to where it's not just buzz in pockets, but it's constant conversation? How would you alter the landscape, and what would you do to make sure that it's a part of the normal conversation?
That's good. Good question. I mean, we have a duopoly in telecommunications here in Canada with Rogers and Bell. And One Soccer, for instance, was owned by Media Pro, a Spanish group that was willing to spend millions, invest millions into the sport in this country like nobody else has done before. And those two, especially Rogers, were blocking them and made it impossible. And they still don't have access to a channel on regular TV. So you have certain powers and pressures from other groups that make it very difficult to make that move. Now, on mainstream TV, I covered the national team for years and years, me and Jerry Dobson calling games. They almost use that as a promotional tour. We would promote the game coming up, and people would see that it was promoted on the Blue Jay games or etc. They would go buy tickets. Well, there's not that. You don't get that anymore. So when the crowds are small, a lot of the fans are like, I didn't even know the game's on. So they have to find a way to do a better job as sort of, with PR in the modern world where you're not on mainstream. So how do you get access and get to those people and get them out to the games? It's a difficult problem, but I think we're getting there. It's just baby steps, unfortunately.
Okay, so then the baby step tonight, 10:30 Eastern time at BC Place, Canada and Honduras. Give me, if things are going well, the marquee names, the names that folks are going to gravitate toward. Give me one of those second-level guys. Give me the foot culture and not a stud or a star that folks can gravitate toward in the broadcast. If things are going well, then this second-level guy doing his job the way that he is supposed to. Who do you think that would be?
Ali Ahmed out of Vancouver. Potentially is another exciting player. I think people know Tajon Buchanan coming back off injury. A couple friendlies leading into it. Certainly the one against Ukraine played extremely well. Hasn't gone well at club level. Got bought by Inter Milan. Went back over to Villarreal on loan. But he's one to look out for. And then Promise David. Hoping that he's going to get some minutes in this match. Certainly will in the tournament at some stage. He could be one of those players who could break out and potentially be a starter in 26. Jefferson is another one playing with Bournemouth. Certainly has the quality, but he hasn't performed yet for Canada. So who are these players going to be, and what are they going to do when they get those opportunities? But so far they haven't done enough. But could be one of those type of players or one of those players.
Yeah, saw Jesse Marsh spending time with Jefferson the other day, trying to walk him through, I guess, what Jesse is anticipating or expecting from a player in those positions. All right, Craig, hit the promo for me. Everything going on up there at Footy Prime with Charm is where you try to put him in his place and keep him in that big easy chair.
yeah. If anybody wants to listen to our podcast, Footy Prime, the podcast, it's available where you can get your podcast. We just did a deal with Sirius XM, so we're on there as well. Good times, really good times. Thanks for having me on, John. It's really been a pleasure. And hello to everybody in Atlanta, because that's been a real hotbed for their MLS team too. I've been proud to watch that.
Well, now that you have the garage door opener, that you can come in at any time and sit there and storm the gates and go, dude, you're wrong. I need to tell you something. So literally, how to get in the door and can surprise us anytime you want. You want to get something off your chest. You know how to now that you've got the keys, you can unlock the house and It's all on you. And so say hi to Sharms and everybody up there for us. Don't be a stranger, especially as Gold Cup continues, because after this, it's Curacao on the weekend and stuff and stuff and stuff. And so that we'll be banging on your door as the tournament continues. Don't be a stranger, my friend. Great to see you. Thanks for dropping by.
Thank you. Anytime, John.
All right, Craig Forrest from Footy Prime. And he survived. He survived his maiden visit. And he's going to go back and he's going to yell at Sharms and go, dude, bruh, what were you doing? Putting me out there like that. But no, it's fun to catch up with them. Good that Footy Prime got the deal with Sirius XM. That's very, very cool. So Footy Prime is kind of our in to the Canadian game with our friend Christian Jack at One Soccer, who is over in the Pacific time zone. I was like, okay, who is still in the Eastern time zone that we can knock on a door? And that was where the whole thing with Sharms and Footy Prime and Craig Forrest. Sharms basically volunteered Craig. It's like, yo, dude, go do this. That's how that happened. But no, it's great to catch up with Craig. And, so if you do some research on Sharms, James Sharman, he actually is a restaurateur. One of his passions when he was done with his first tour in television and talking soccer was bringing English delicacies to Canadian audiences. And so literally you go to Footy Prime, you can find out about Sharms meat pies and the whole thing. So seriously, that's what he did. And then he's dialed it back and he's come back into the whole industry thing. And he gets to talk soccer with Craig and everybody up there at Footy Prime. So Footy_Prime on the socials. And you can follow Craig on the Blue Sky, and James and Sharms, I think, is on the Blue Butterfly as well. But yeah, I think it's Footy_Prime. It's Craig_Forrest, and they're on the Butterfly and all that kind of stuff. So now that was good to catch up with them. So once again, remember tonight, it is the doubleheader of Curacao and El Salvador with our buddy Tyler Terrens and Mo Adu, who are probably still napping, especially after their late night with Guatemala and the win over Jamaica. So tonight, whoa, we're going to get it right. Curacao is a plus 120 hosting El Salvador, and it's listed as an 815. It is a 90-minute draw, and El Salvador both at a plus 229. The nightcap, 10:30 Eastern, BC Place, Canada hosting Honduras. Canada, a minus 244 against perpetual pain in the you-know-what Honduras. Honduras is a plus 611, and your 90-minute draw is a plus 373. John and Stu are calling that one. Our buddy Tyler Terrens and Mo Adu are calling Curacao and El Salvador. So we'll get you the details of all of that. We'll get you the deets. We'll lay it all out for big wins and such as the Gold Cup continues as well. So yeah, this week it's kind of wild. It's wild and it's different. It's wild and it's different. Where we're talking about Club World Cup, we're talking about the Gold Cup, and we're talking about all of these other things. In this week of international competitions and stuff, we're talking Club World Cup and Gold Cup, and I think that's really cool. As we are in the late spring of soccer, heading into the summer of soccer, right? Let me catch up with all of you guys as we were there with Craig. And Abby about the Club World Cup didn't think they promoted it very well, not until they were very close to the tournament. And then you got into the whole dynamic pricing thing. And so that's where we are once again with all of that. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. And we'll get you into all of that stuff because there is a lot of movement with folks. And as the windows try to blow up and expand, we're going to keep an eye on things. It looks like Kyle Walker might actually be heading to Everton. Manchester City, Kyle Walker agreed to join Everton on a one-year deal, according to the three-letter paper. You got a new barn, you're going to need some defensive help, you called Kyle Walker, 35. So Kyle Walker and Everton, according to the three-letter paper, next year. Brian Mbumo leaning towards a move to Manchester United over Spurs, despite his former manager Thomas Frank joining the latter. Newcastle have opened talks with Brighton over the signing of Joao Pedro, and they're also interested in Ousmane Diomande over at Sporting. Catch up with our buddy Nino Torres on that. Remember, Jason's going to be anchoring the morning show on Thursday, and it is going to be the Power Hour with Nino and Nico in hour number 2, breaking everything down, Club World Cup, news, notes, dudes, transfers, all that kind of stuff, and what's going on with Nico and Seattle in the Club World Cup, Nino and possible center backs that are Albanian nationals that he covered at Famalicão. That came out from Tommy Scoops this morning, so keep an eye out on that. Victor Gyökeres update. Juve have offered Gyökeres an £11 million a year contract as they try to beat Arsenal and Manchester United to the deal for the Swedish international. Barca have moved ahead of Arsenal. Barca have moved ahead of Arsenal, Bayern Munich, and Chelsea in the race to sign Athletic Bilbao winger Nico Williams. But financial issues, I'm shocked. Financial issues in Barcelona could scupper the new campside's move for the Spanish international. I'm shocked. Barcelona having financial issues. Who knew? Tottenham set to open talks with Rennes over French striker Ono Kalimuendo. That's from L'Equipe. Manchester United have held initial talks with Eintracht Frankfurt over the signing of Hugo Ekitike. No formal bid has been made yet. Napoli aiming to sign either Garnacho or Jack Grealish, but the Italian champs are only willing to spend, according to the three-letter paper, £45 million. AC Milan and Napoli both interested in Darwin Nunez. The Reds, meaning Liverpool, valuing him at €60 million or £51 million. Atletico Madrid will target Luca Digne if they do not sign Andy Robertson. Chelsea have opened talks with Lyon over Belgian winger Malik Fofana. Nottingham Forest have also shown interest. Lyon might need the financial assistance. Just saying. Barcelona and Marc-Andre ter Stegen has turned down an offer from Galatasaray. Bilbao, Marseille, Arsenal, Villa, Milan, and Napoli. Inter, Milan, and Napoli have all shown interest in Aymeric Laporte, who is at Al Nassr right now. Liverpool have joined Manchester United, Chelsea, and Newcastle in the race for Tyler Dibbling from Southampton. Real Betis want to join into a joint ownership agreement with Manchester United for Antony that would see the Spanish club buy increasing percentages of his playing rights from next summer. What in the world is that? A joint? Let's both own him. So let's both own him. How does that work? So if there's a Real Betis game on a Tuesday, if he's like Monday Night Football and he doesn't play, he wanders over to – so Saturday, if he doesn't play for Manchester United, Real Betis is like, yeah, we'll play him on Monday. We got a Monday night game. Go ahead and bring him over. How does that work? Joint ownership agreement for Antony, buying increasing percentages of his playing rights. So it's like we can't buy him outright now. We can't have him 100%. We can't pay for 100% of Antony. So we'll do it on like a 4-year deal where we like to have Antony available for 9 matches. 50%. Oh, we'd like to have him for half the schedule. We'd like to have him for 17 matches or 18 matches. 75% of the schedule in year 3. But yeah, we'd like to have him for 27 matches. And then by year 4, yes, we can afford the entire Antony. Sure. Wow. Bristol City set to appoint Gerhard Struber as their new head coach. Keep an eye on that. That came from the Telegraph. Let's see. Birmingham City have agreed with Brighton on goalkeeper U21 keeper James Beadle for the 25-26. Let's see. Blues are also close to signing Kanya Fujimoto, who's coming in from Gil Vicente. Sam Greenwood possibly to Leicester. Let's see. Ipswich have reportedly joined Birmingham, Celtic, and Rangers in the race to sign Posh's Kwame Poku. The Tractor Boys set to make an official offer. Mark Guyu, Ipswich have also made inquiries about him, 19-year-old Spanish striker for Chelsea. And so Sheffield United was trying to find a way to bring Kyle Walker back, but since he's going to Everton. Chris Wilder, by the way, sacked. So we'll keep an eye on that. Southampton have agreed on a £1 million deal with Manchester United to sell their 16-year-old defender, Harley Emsden-James. So keep an eye on all of those. So that's your gossip, rumor, and your innuendo for the morning. Also, let's check the headlines and see if there's anything else that we might have missed. Omar Barada says that Manchester United can win the Premier League by 2028. Ruben Sayas is lined up to replace Chris Wilder, by the way, at Sheffield United. Napoli weighing up Jack Grealish, but they can't match his wages. That's probably the biggest issue. We mentioned Gareth Bale in the front is the front man for the takeover talks of Plymouth Argyle. Manor Solomon is apparently stranded in Israel during the Iran conflict. So keep an eye on that and his safety going forward. So that's the latest from the Telegraph. Let's see what the Guardian can tell us this morning. See if is there anything. Luke Edwards poised to be Middlesbrough's manager after impressing the owner in the interview process. Oh, yeah, this came out this morning. David Coote has been charged by the FA over the Jurgen Klopp comments. Paul McGuinness at The Guardian lost his job over the incident, cleared of any gambling misconduct by the FA, but he's been charged by the Football Association over those remarks. You'll remember in a video that was filmed criticizing Klopp, including calling him a German C word, posted online back in November, and then he was suspended. Then he was sacked in December. FA has now charged Coote over the remarks with the claim that he, quote, acted in an improper manner and or used abusive and or insulting words, end quote, in breach of FA Rule E3.1. Furthermore, the alleged reference to Klopp's nationality means Coote will be charged with an aggravated offense under the FA's rules, and if found guilty, likely to be punished with a financial sanction, basically a fine. Coote did, however, avoid any charges relating to claims he agreed to issue a yellow card to a player before a match. Coote denied the allegation, describing it as false and defamatory. FA is not going to pursue any charges of gambling misconduct against him. And the video goes back to apparently the 2021 season. Coote suspended by UEFA from officiating in European competition until the end of June of 2026. So keep an eye out on all of that. So that's the Guardian notes on the day. The Times, if I could spell, see if there are any headlines there. And once again, we'll go back over the Atlanta United headline from Tom Bogert before we get out of here. Let's see. Spurs also admit an error in blocking fans on the 280 character app over replies to a Manor Solomon post. Let's see. There's the David Coote. We mentioned that. United considering the move for Hugo Ekitike, who's rated at £60 million. Spurs are willing to sell Yeonmin Son, but only after a lucrative tour in South Korea. That's not necessarily a surprise that you have an asset, you wish to maximize the asset, and then you're not going to sit there and you don't want to sell the asset before you make the tour, because then you're not going to have butts in seats. So that makes sense. That makes absolute sense. So WSL is going to expand to 14 teams and add a promotion relegation playoff. Gattuso was named. We didn't talk about this. Gattuso was named the Italy head coach. He's now the charge of the Italian national team. Please, Lord, please let there be amazing press conferences that are attached to Gattuso being in charge of the Italian team. Let that happen. Sometimes it may be good. Sometimes it may be, just something like that. Just that's all I want. Okay, so today, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. FS1 has both of the Gold Cup matchups, once again, 8:15 and 10:30. Club World Cup at noon on TNT is Fluminense and Borussia Dortmund. Keep an eye on the camera angles, how tight the shots are, and what the building looks like. Gold TV, Uruguayan Primera in the Intermedio with our buddy Nino Torres, Wanderers and Defensor Sportings at 7 o'clock. You can join our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. You can get Gold TV, all the BNs, Nuestra Tele, CDO for the fans, CDO 1 and 2. I think BN is now tapped into Canal 4 in Central America and Tigo Sports. So they have some activity that you can watch from all of those. And you can continue with our buddy Nino Torres at Gold TV to become the true degenerate that you thought you were, but hadn't achieved that status yet. You can get more matches, more games, more channels. You can get that at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Quick reminders, you can go to Olive and York and get our SDH jersey, the Navy jersey with the floppy collar. Consult with Alex and Abby as to whether or not you wish to have it personalized, either in white letters and numerals or the double blue. the Columbia blue, Tar Heel blue, whatever you want to call it. Let's say lighter blue, you can have it accented that way, or in white letters and numerals. Marshall Island Soccer Project, once again, middle of August, 14th and 16th, the Outrigger Challenge Cup. It looks like Ozark United's U19s are going to be the fourth team added to the competition in Springdale, Arkansas. Made the Kickstarter number, and when there's news to break, they're going to come on and break it as they continue to get closer and closer to what's going to be going on. 2 months from now, Springdale, Arkansas, Outrigger Challenge Cup, Marshall Island Soccer Federation. You can get all the Marshall Islands gear from them. If you want a scarf, you get it from me. I got to send out a scarf to England. I have to send a scarf to Chicago, Illinois. So the supply is dwindling. But buy the Marshall Islands gear, your way to show support for them. And once again, it helps them keep the lights on and continue to grow the program as they get ready for the Outrigger Challenge Cup coming on the second full week of August in Arkansas. Also, you can become a Fanatico, $10 a year, and you can really get a lot of really cool discounts, really. And it is group.chant.fan/soccer down here /join. And what you can do, if I've typed it out correctly, you can be a true Fanatico, $10 a year. What do you do for $10 a year? You can become a Fanatico, and you can get a lot of cool discounts from a lot of cool places, including Chateau Arenal in Costa Rica if you wanted to go on vacation. It's about 2 hours outside of San Jose, but you go to Chateau Arenal, you get a discount, you get a code if you're a Fanatico. And once again, that's part of our Soccer for Good campaign, as is the Olive and York jersey campaign. You have Beyond Goals Mentoring on one sleeve, Soccer for Good on the other. It helps out our Soccer for Good in 2025. Also, Grady Baby Co. You can get the Soccer is Just Better in Atlanta gear. You can get the red or the black, the sweatshirt or the T-shirt, the Golden Boss quote, Soccer is Just Better in Atlanta. Proceeds from that go help out middle school soccer programs attached to the Atlanta public school system. So you can help out there as well. So once again, a lot of our Soccer for Good campaigns, SDH Network logo on one cuff, Grady Baby logo on the other cuff. So Grady Baby, Olive and York. You can go to soccerdownhere.net and shop the new logo gear there as well. So there is a shop section at soccerdownhere.net. And you can go to fntz.co/soccerdownhere. You get to watch a lot of stuff in Central and South America and in Europe as well with our friends at BN and at Goal TV. Once again, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. 2 to NA simulcasting the Gold Cup tonight. Unimas simulcasting the Gold Cup tonight. DAZN USA has all 4 matches. You can sign up for the free subscription to watch the Club World Cup. Jessica Charman, Danny Higginbotham called the match last night, Fluminense and Esperance. Flamengo and Esperance. They called that match last night. Jess has the pictures, and if you follow Jess on social media, she actually ran up the Rocky steps, the museum steps, and did the Rocky pose as a part of the promo for calling the match last night on DAZN UK with Danny Higginbotham. YouTube, on the MLS YouTube channel, the MLS Next Cup quarterfinal in the U15s. That should be close to completion. The U16 quarterfinal is at noon, so you can watch all the stuff there as well. And so I think that's it. And it looks like the unified team is going to be a part of the Genuine World Cup. Okay, very cool. Hang on just a second. All right, so Genuine World Cup. And the Genuine World Cup, for those that do not know, and that is from July 29th through August 1st in Houston, Texas. And so the Genuine World Cup, we'll keep an eye out for that as well. And I guess this means we're probably going to have to catch up with Marty Jellamy toward the end of next month. So the Genuine World Cup in Houston, the unified team is going to be a part of that. And that just came out. Thank you once again, literally 7 minutes ago. Thank you, Ricky, for the heads up on that. So the unified team is going to be a part of the Genuine World Cup in Houston. And yes, and thank you for clicking and letting me know that, like, the website, so we can get into, yes, in the heat of Houston. Okay, so the Genuine World Cup, 12 teams, and I'm scrolling down. So celebration of inclusion, friendship, and the power of sport to unite people across cultures and borders. And they've got got pretty decent sponsorships. So Genuine World Cup, definitely something to get attached to and follow along as they go. And so it looked like it was a great celebration of inclusion last year with the teams that were involved. So it looks like this year, and the Atlanta United's got the logo that's attached to it. So Rossing, Yokohama Marinos, Peñarol, Newcastle United, Corinthians, Atlanta United, Manchester United, Valencia, Wolfsburg, Tigres, Sporting CP in Portugal, Rangers, Querétaro, PSG, a couple of national teams, Inter Milan, Club Brugge, Bayer Leverkusen, Messi and Friends, Western Australia, Ajax, Roma, AS Roma, Athletic Bilbao, and national teams from Hungary and Bosnia and Herzegovina. So very, very cool. Very, very cool. So for those of you that want to get more information, go to genuineworldcup.com. Late July, early August, so about 6 weeks from now. And so that means that we'll have to catch up with Marty Jellamy and the friends from the Genuine World Cup and find out more about this. So the unified team heading to Houston, late July, early August, and they're going to be a part of the Genuine World Cup. All right, back at it again, 9:05 tomorrow morning. Tyler Pilgrim and Dylan Butler slated to join us as we'll go through everything. Club World Cup, and we'll probably rail on folks who are railing on attendance figures in the midweek. Once again, matchups today in the Club World Cup. It is no one stepping on anybody. No one stepping on nobody. It is noon, 3, 6, 9. Fluminense in Dortmund. Dortmund's now a -152. River Plate at 3 o'clock, a -208. Ulsan and Mamelodi Sundowns. Mamelodi Sundowns has flipped to the plus side at a +102. And at 9 o'clock, Monterrey and Inter Milan. Inter a -175 going up against Monterrey. So watch the matches, enjoy the matches, stay in the air conditioning. And if you're going to complain, about Auckland City, make sure you send it to Auckland City social media accounts. Don't send it to Auckland FC because it ain't the same. And there have been announcers on air who have just been saying Auckland, and I can understand where the confusion would be for folks who are listening or watching and trying to want to send a message to Auckland City. But send the message to Auckland City. Don't send it to Auckland FC. There is a difference, and they're wondering what is going on with you because we ain't there. So they ain't there. If you got something to say it to their face. Say it to the right team. Find the right URL code. Find the right address on social media. If you got something to say it to them. Like I said, I will be at practice on Thursday before we sprint back down here to be ready for Messi and Friends in Porto. And so we'll find out what's going on at Auckland City after what happened with the matchup with Bayern Munich as they get ready for their next go-round and get ready for their next matchup in the Club World Cup. You know it's going to be 3 and done. They're going to go through the group stage. But once again, if you got a problem with it, change the rules. And until you change the rules, enjoy the experience for what it is. They got Benfica on Friday in Orlando at the Purple Team Stadium. So we'll see what happens there. But we'll catch up with them on Thursday before they head out of town. We're going to Chattanooga. We'll be there at practice Thursday morning, and we'll see what the lay of the land is up there with them. And then they're going to hop on a plane, head down to Orlando, and then they're going to get ready to have the MD-1 there at the Purple Team headquarters, and then they're going to play Benfica on Friday at noon in the heat of Central Florida. So we'll see what happens. Once again, thanks to all of you folks for dropping by, as you always do. Thanks to Craig Forrest for dropping in, getting the lay of the land for the Canadian men's national team. Footy_Prime, Craig Forrest, Craig_Forrest. They're both on the Blue Butterfly app. You can follow them there as well. Footy Prime, big podcast, and they now have the deal with Sirius XM. So that's your transfer news. That's your news on it. Your reports on Atlanta United. It's not news, it's just reports. Reports on Atlanta United. News going on around. Reports going on around. Club World Cup, Gold Cup. That's a show. Back at it again, lesson 22. Since it is the end of the show, thanks to all of y'all for hanging out with us. Mucha plata, y'all play it safe. That means we get to do this. Back at it again, 9:05 tomorrow morning.
Thank you.